There is this interesting story of someone who was simple-minded and was used to be described as an idiot in Rome, who outwitted the king, Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, and in fact is the guy who got him out of power. I welcome you to my YouTube channel where I explore ancient texts, and ancient texts here I mean texts that have been around for thousands of years, and try to find interesting tales and stories from them. At the moment I'm going through the book From the Founding of the City by Titus Livius or Livy. This is a collection of books that were written about 2000 years ago, and they cover the history of Rome from maybe 750 BC or around there to around 0 AD or 0 BCE. Brutus is the guy who got the family of Tarquinius from power. But this guy is a very interesting character because he grew up and everybody didn't take him serious because they basically called him an idiot. And in fact, even his name Brutus made to understand that kind of like meant that he was a simple-minded guy basically. Brutus was the son of Lucius Tarquinius Superbus' sister, who went by the name Tarquinia. As I've said, people considered him to be stupid, simple-minded, an idiot. Nobody took him serious. In fact, Livy tells us that he was mostly a butt of jokes. People made jokes about him and laughed at him. Like, nobody took him serious. But something happened along the way, and I'm giving you the story. So one day, Lucius Tarquinius Superbus is in the palace, and a snake appears, and the snake is climbing one of the columns. The king becomes anxious because he doesn't know what that meant. He wants to consult the oracles of Rome, which used to be known as the augurs, but he decides not to because the augurs from Rome and the neighboring cities usually handle the official matters of the state. So he decides to go and find explanations elsewhere, and he decides to find explanation in Greece, and he sends his two sons, Titus and Arruns, to go to the Oracle of Delphi. This is an oracle that is mentioned many times in Herodotus' histories, by the way. So he sends his sons to go to the Oracle of Delphi and find out what this meant. And these two boys decide to go along with their cousin, Lucius Junius Brutus. And they bring him along just because they wanted to have him around to have jokes and whatever. They didn't really think that much about him. He wasn't somebody to give any serious thought, but they were like, oh, come accompany us. Brutus goes with them, and he carries along a wooden staff, but inside was gold. And there was a meaning to this, by the way, that Livy does explain. They go to the Delphi, to the Oracle of Delphi, and after telling the Delphi whatever they were to tell him about their father and the snake and getting the message that they received, they went ahead and asked. Now, these were their own issues, really. It wasn't part of whatever they were sent to ask. And they asked the oracle, so who amongst us is going to be the next king? Of course, amongst us means between the two sons of the king. The oracle tells them, whichever of you young men shall be the first to kiss his mother, he shall hold the supreme sway in Rome. So that's what he says. And then Brutus gives the oracle this staff that is outside wood and inside gold. And Livy tells us that it was the emblem of his own character. And we'll come back to that as we go along. Now, these three young men leave and they go to Rome. And when they reach Rome, or before they, on the way to Rome, the two sons of Lucius, that is Titus and Arruns, they decide that the oracle has said whoever is the first to kiss their mother is going to be the next king. So they say, this is what we are going to do. We are going to decide amongst ourselves who is going to be the next king. But we are not going to tell Sextus, who remained back at home, their other brother, about this. So we are going to find a way to decide amongst ourselves who is going to be the next king. And they go. Well, when they reach Rome, of course, Livy doesn't tell us in the end how they decided who was going to be the first to kiss their mother. But what he tells us is Brutus, once he just reached the region or the land that was Rome, he pretended to have stumbled and he kissed the ground. Because to him, he understood that what the oracle meant was that the ground is what he meant. Whoever first kisses the ground, that is Rome. And he understood that the ground was the mother of all of us. When they reach home, Rome is already, the war is starting between Rome and Rutulians, who are a neighboring tribe. So the war is going on. And at that time, there was a city known as Ardea. I think it's the city of the Rutulians. And the Romans had put it under siege. And the princess, they put it under siege because the war was not going anywhere, really. So they were hoping that they would wear it down and then they conquer it. It tells us that the princess of Rome were stationed nearby. And they were just staying there, feasting and entertaining themselves. And it was Sextus Tarquinius who was organizing these parties and whatever and whatever. One of the people who was present among this group was Collatinus. Collatinus was the son of Egerius. Now, if you've watched my videos, you might know who Egerius is. Egerius was the son of the brother of Lucius Tarquinius Priscus. That's the father of the current king, the king who is reigning as these things are happening. The son of Egerius Collatinus is in this group who are with Sextus, and they are the princes, and they are having fun and parties and all that. Now, one day, these princes are having fun, they've drunk wine, they are talking, and they start having this stupid conversation of who has the most beautiful and responsible wife. And they argue. Collatinus say, I have the most responsible and beautiful wife who went by the name Lucretia. And everybody, of course, talks about their own. And they are like, why do we not, if we have any youthful figure about us, mount our horses and pay our wives a visit and find out their characters on the spot? Like, why can't we just go and prove it? What we see of the behavior of each on the unexpected arrival of a husband, let that be the sure test. Like, let's just go and test them and see whose wife is going to win. So all of them, they leave wherever they were, near Ardea, and they go to Colatia. Colatia was, I guess, a town near Rome. And they go to Colatia, that's where their families were, basically. And they go around the group goes from one house to the other. They are trying to look at their wives and see whose wife is going to come out like the winning, beautiful, responsible, like the best wife. And all of them go, and in the end of it, the conclusion is the wife of Collatinus, who Lucretia that is, was the winning wife. And of course they are like, oh, she's the winning, and then they leave Colatia and all of them go back to Ardea where they were. The siege was going on Ardea, and they go back to the camp, that is. Now, while in the camp, Sextus apparently turned out to have liked Lucretia. And after a few days, he leaves the rest of the guys in the camp, and he goes himself back to Colatia. And he goes to the house of Collatinus, and the family welcome him. They don't know why he's just come back. They welcome him for dinner, he eats, and then he's taken to a place to sleep. At night, he goes and attacks Lucretia, and he's trying to assault her. And Lucretia fights him for a moment, and then he threatens her that if you continue fighting me, he had a knife, by the way, and he told her, I'm going to kill you. And that's not even the worst. What made Lucretia didn't fear dying. What she feared most is her honor being destroyed. Like he told her, I'm going to kill you, and then I'm going to kill a servant or a slave and put him next to you, so that tomorrow people will wake up and realize that you are having something going on with a slave. Turns out that would have been a huge dent on a person. She didn't want that to happen. So she kind of like let him do whatever he wanted to do. Now, once he's done and he has left, he's gone back to Ardea, she sends a message to her father. And she sends a message to her husband. Now, her father is Spurius Lucretius. And her father came with someone. Her father rushed back home, came to see what's happening, because as his daughters sent him a message that something has happened, and he comes rushing. He comes along with a friend of his who went by the name Publius Valerius. Meanwhile, Collatinus also receives a message that your wife wants you back home. There's something that does happen. And Lucius Collatinus comes back, and who does he come back with? He comes back with Lucius Junius Brutus. So he comes, and now they come at the house where Lucretia was there. She's crying. She's really in a very bad shape, the way Livy describes it. Of course, that would be the case. And she tells them what happened, and she's crying, and she explains what Sextus had done to her. They try to tell her, oh, it's not your fault. You shouldn't make it like it's you who did anything wrong. You're just a victim, something like that. But to her, it was too much. And after she's told them everything that happened, she takes a knife that she had hidden under her garment, and she basically takes her life. That disturbs Collatinus and, of course, the father. And they are shocked of what she has done, and they start crying. Livy describes as they start mourning, of course, what has she done to herself. And but Brutus goes to where she's lying down, and she takes the knife out of her, and he pulls the knife up there, and he says the following words: "By this blood, most pure before the outrage wrought by the king's son, I swear, and you, O gods, I call to witness that I will drive hence Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, together with his cursed wife and his whole brood, with fire and sword and every monster in power, and I will not suffer them or anyone else to reign in Rome." So he kind of like swears that he was going to do something. And at that point, the people in the room turn around and look at Brutus. That was the first time they had heard him talk in a way that was so knowledgeable, so sensible. Like, they always knew him to be this stupid guy who like simple-minded. But for the first time, he talks in a way that nobody expected. and they look at him wondering, is this Brutus? How does he become this? How does he talk like this? It turns out Brutus had always been pretending that he was stupid and simple-minded. And Livy tells us the reason he was pretending, he had realized that the king, Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, was killing everybody he thought was a threat to his power. Anybody who seemed to be smart, who seemed to be a threat, was taken care of. And in fact, Livy tells us the brother of Brutus had been killed because of that. And when Brutus realized that, he decided that no, I'm not going to let the king think I'm a threat to him. I'm going to pretend to be very stupid. The staff that he took to the oracle of Delphi, that was wood outside and gold inside, and Livy tells us it was like a symbol of who he was. Like outside he looked stupid, but there was something inside him. That's what it was. And so it had all along been pretense. He wasn't stupid. He wasn't like everybody thought. It was just survival for him. He had realized that if he wanted to survive, he needed to keep an appearance of an idiot, basically, because he didn't want to die. So after he's taken that knife and sworn, and he calls upon the father of Lucretia and the husband to swear that they were going to join him in fighting the Tarquinius family. And they accept, and they take the body of Lucretius, they take it to the forum of Pollassia. They invite people and they tell people what had happened. And then Brutus leads people, some soldiers from Pollassia to Rome. And he goes there, and there is a huge crowd of people, of Romans, and he tells them what had happened about Lucretia. He reminds them about the brutality of the king and his family. He even reminds them about the murder of Servius Tullius, the previous king. And he brings all these charges against the king, and he tells them it's time we deal with the king. And the people listen to him, and for the first time everybody is shocked that Brutus is this smart and is this persuasive, and he persuades them to declare that they were banishing the king, basically. And after he's done with that, they've declared that they've banished him. In fact, while he's still addressing the public, Tullia, the wife of the king, flees. She flees from Rome. That's what Livy tells us. And meanwhile, Lucius Tarquinius Superbus comes hurrying to Rome. Of course, he has heard that there's something going on. And he arrives, the gates are closed on him, and he finds that there is a decree of banishment that has been passed against him. And he had nothing to do, really, because as he was coming to Rome, Brutus had taken another path and went to Ardea and talked to the soldiers, and the soldiers were with him. And the king finds out that there's nothing he could do, really, because Brutus seems to have taken care of everything. And so what he did, he just went to exile. And Livy tells us that two of his sons accompany him to exile. They go to the land of Etruscans in Caere or Caere. Meanwhile, Sextus decides to go to Gabii. Remember Gabii, the town that he conquered using trickery? He goes back there because he still believed that the people there considered him to be like their king. But when he reaches there, they kill him because Livy tells us that there were people there who had this grudge against him, of course, for whatever he had done. And so they kill him. And at that point, with the end of the reign of Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, that was the end of monarchy for Rome. And at that point, they decided to become a republic, and they started electing people known as the consuls. And the consuls always ruled as two people. And the first pair of consuls was Lucius Junius Brutus and Lucius Tarquinius Collatinus.